All right, so I'm Duncan Gibb. So SCIRT exists as a delivery vehicle for the horizontal infrastructure. We've created for our team what we call our noble purpose, or our what we're here for statement. And it's really just to try and align everyone into what we're here for. And sure, we're here to create resilient infrastructure, that goes without saying, but we keep on reinforcing to our team that the reason we're doing this is to create security and confidence for the people of Christchurch. So you need to know that your businesses and your houses and your lives are going to be rebuilt on some infrastructure that can sustain future seismic activity and will do the job that needs to do. Okay, so that's really important for us. So let's have a look at what is the damage in the central city. So this is just within the 4 avenues. You'll see there's about 26 kilometres of wastewater pipework that needs to be relayed. There's about 18 kilometres that needs to have some sort of repair, whether it's a relining or patch repair. There's 8 pump stations that need to be constructed and 1 that needs to be repaired. So that's just in the sewage and wastewater. In the stormwater and drainage, we're just finalising the investigation and the repairs and working in with the new Avon corridor and the other bits of work that council are doing around the flood and stormwater modelling and stuff, but we'll have that sorted out shortly. But the reality is there's many kilometres of work that needs to be done there too. You then look at the freshwater pipe supply. There's 8 kilometres of freshwater pipeline that needs to be relayed. And you can just see where it's scattered around the place. And then you look at the road surface. You know, generally the road surfaces don't look too bad through the central city. But the reality is there's about 5 kilometres that needs to be totally rebuilt, about 14 kilometres that needs to be restored, and about 43 kilometres that needs to be repaired. That's just within the 4 avenues. There's also 15 bridges that need to be repaired, and 8 of those are significant repairs. Absolutely significant. Having said that, and hearing Warwick saying we don't want rework, the reality is that in a number of the roadworks that we're doing where we know there's going to be significant building going on afterwards, we will reinstate a surface after we're finished. It will not necessarily be the final surface because the final footpaths and architectural treatments and road servicing will be completed after the rebuild. It makes sense, okay? Within the central city, as Warwick has said, there are a number of programs of work. Ours is just one program. So people talk about the $40 billion rebuild. Ours is about 2.5 billion of that. So we're only really a small player, but we're the foundational important one. Well, in our view, we need to get happening ahead so that all the rest of you guys can do your stuff and feel confident about it. We are using this tool. There's a number of different names for it. What Warwick referred to it as the, what did you call it? The forward work spatial coordination tool. So, you know, irrespective of what you call it, it's a central repository for information which enables us to schedule the work by time. We've got daily and weekly schedules which go in, which are anchored off dates for anchor projects and private developments as we get that information from you. So if we look at, I'm just trying to give you a view of really the big picture of the central city. We've got the council stuff, we've got the CCDU stuff, we've got the SCIRT stuff, we've got utility guys who are rebuilding stuff and doing whatever they're doing, and then we've got private developers. And they've all got a whole lot of projects. All of that stuff gets culminated and stuck in the tool down the bottom that we spoke of before. Off to the side are a whole lot of service functions, a whole lot of people doing other stuff, which enables all these rebuild programs to happen and the road networks and the council operations and everything else to keep happening too. There's a heck of a lot that is going on just in the 4 avenues. Yeah, it is a really busy area. When we look at our, let's just drill down into just the SCIRT schedule. So what things do we need to take into account? Well, obviously there's the CCDU and the council and all the other buildings and private developments that are happening. There's a whole lot of network dependencies. So within, say, the sewage or hydraulic networks, there are certain things that you have to do. You sort of work upstream, and you can't. It's pointless building a whole lot of reticulation pipework and not doing the pump station because you can't use it. You know, so there's certain dependencies just in how the networks fit together, which determine what we do and when. We need to make sure that we optimise the value of our delivery. We don't want to be doing a little bit of work here with this crew and then relocating them over here 2 kilometres away and then coming back again. That's just wasting money. So we really want to sequence the work so that we're working in a planned approach. And obviously we've got to minimise traffic and business impacts. And you'll see this logo with a traffic cone with a heart in the middle and some stuff. That's part of a program that I'll talk about later. But it's really about getting everyone, including everyone who doesn't work in the central city, all the community that are out there, to understand that there's a concentrated focus on business and on traffic and stuff like that. Okay, so that's the big picture schedule. Within that, we've got a whole lot of projects. So with each project, we will be working with businesses and houses and people that we interact with one-on-one, and we'll be having some flexibility around we do that. And there's some good examples in that space. In Victoria Street, Fletcher have worked closely with a number of businesses to stagger work and shift it around to suit milestones that the businesses had. Ballantynes are working pretty closely with McConnell Dowell at the moment. CPIT and Downer are working together to make sure roadworks and CPIT works are coordinated. So, there is some stuff that we can do. However, the bigger picture schedule is pretty firmly locked in to ensure that we deliver ahead of the anchor projects and that stuff. So big picture again, we heard about September and February, the ERMO program, then SCIRT coming into existence. We've got anchor projects and things happening as per that schedule. The majority of our work is happening in that block that you see. We started work in about June of 2012. A lot of people didn't see it because there's a whole lot of the major trunk mains for stormwater and sewer that run around the 4 avenues. We actually went through and relined all those so you can get another 50 to 80 years of life out of the existing brick barrels. So all that sort of stuff was happening. People weren't seeing too much. So we started the residential and the local wastewater reticulation stuff. You'll see in there about January, February of this year. So we have been working in the central city, and people have noticed on Montreal Street, and you would have heard of the cheesemonger and all that sort of stuff. We have been interacting with businesses and doing stuff, but it's really going to heat up. So watch this. This is time-lapse snapshots. That's an event happening in the city. The green blocks are anchor projects and other works. The blue things are where we are working, where we're in, where we're going. So you can see there's a very detailed schedule that's already been put together to ensure that we can meet broader timeline dates around anchor projects and things. But we need your information to make sure that our weekly schedule is going to work in with what you're doing as well, also that you can understand what our schedule is, and maybe you can look at moving some of your dates to fit in with the broader schedule. Does that make sense? So that's a really, really useful tool. So if we look at who is working in the central city on behalf of SCIRT, SCIRT has 5 delivery teams. In the central city, we've split it up geographically, really, with only 4 of the delivery teams. The 5th delivery team, Fulton Hogan, are doing a whole lot of work outside in the rest of this city, as well as these delivery teams still work in the rest of the city. We can't stop what we're doing around the whole city just for the central city, okay? So there's still going to be a lot of stuff happening. We'll probably have 150 projects operational around the whole city, and a big chunk of those will be in the central. So you've got these 4 delivery teams, City Care, Downer, Fletcher, McConnell Dowell. We've split the city up, as you can see here. The orangey colour is McConnell Dowell. City Care is the pink. Green is Downer and blue is Fletcher. So if your business is in one of those areas, you know which delivery team you need to talk to, okay? So we are attempting as closely as possible to get a one-pass approach. And that doesn't mean within 1 week we'll finish everything in your street. What that means is we will come through and do the sewage and wastewater. So we'll keep going with sewage and wastewater, which is the lower surface. Once that's complete, we then come in and do the stormwater and drainage. Once that's complete, we finish off the water reticulation. Once that's complete, we get into the road surfacing. So, they're different crews with different skills using different plant and equipment and different methodologies. So what we'll try and do is work within a project team and finish all of those off in effectively one pass, but it's not an instantaneous parallel at the same time one pass, okay? Everyone get that distinction? The sort of construction impacts you can expect to see are obviously the cones and signs and plant and equipment and a restricted road corridor. The reality is the 3 waters actually run within the road corridor. That's the easements around the city within which those services go, and power and the other utilities do as well. That's just a fact of life, and we need to deal with it. Vibration can sometimes seem really, really awful, but when you actually put measuring tools and measure the peak particle velocity of the ground, it's not necessarily going to damage anything. It's just you feel it and you notice it. There will be noise, there will be dust, and those sort of things impact on when we do work and how we go about doing it. There are different repairs that we use. I mentioned the brick barrels, and we were pipe lining, and really that takes a smaller road corridor. They just need to locate around a pit, and they put some plant equipment and liners down into the pipes, heat them up, pressurise them, and all you see is stuff happening on the surface at each end of a pipeline. Trenching, so that's okay where you've got pipes that's cracked and we can reline them. Where they're actually really damaged or out of grade, they have to be excavated and trenching happens. So where we can, we are lining to reduce the impact on the road network, okay? And that still leaves council with an asset that's got a 50-year asset life, and that's good for them because they don't want to be left with a problem in the next 2 years. They as we, because we're all paying rates and we're paying for it. Service protection's a biggie. There are a huge number of services in the ground, and quite frankly, sometimes we've got so many services we can't get in and do the work. And unfortunately, a lot of those services aren't recorded in their location, so we have a huge amount of effort going into planning on where services are, coming out and identifying where they are, exposing them through hydraulic excavational means so we don't damage them. And the whole purpose of this is we don't want to be hurting our people, and we don't want to be cutting service from businesses and houses, because you guys have got to keep your businesses operating. So there's a huge amount of effort going into service protection. And construction working hours. This is a biggie. A lot of people say, why can't you speed it up and work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day? The reality is the people that are doing this work are the same people that responded straight after the earthquakes. They were working huge, immense hours back then, and quite frankly, a lot of them nearly burned out. And, we need to look after our people. Our people are our most important resource, just as they are for your businesses. We need to give them a balance of work and life, and we need to not wear them out. Okay, so we are looking to work 5-6 days a week, 10-11 hours a day, depending on daylight hours and that sort of stuff. However, if there's a need to quickly get through an intersection, or if there's some work that is conducive to happening at night, we will do that. But it's on a case-by-case basis, and we need to discuss it with houses in the area and businesses in the area. For example, cheesemongers, he said, we want you to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Couple of houses down, or a couple of buildings down, was a B&B, and they're saying, we don't want you to work here at night. That's going to stuff up our business. That's not on. So, there's a big picture. We need to consider everybody's input. Traffic, it's a biggie. And CTOC has been created to help make sure that we can maximise the operation of the road network whilst we are still delivering the rebuild. All right? We can't be saying, we're going to have to stop the rebuild for 4 weeks because the traffic's bunching up a bit on this road. We can't do that, or else we'll never get this thing done. And it's really important. So there's a whole lot of work going on with the working groups and CTOC to make sure we get a good result. Okay, so irrespective of what you think might be happening, there's a heck of a lot of work going on in GIS analysis and traffic network modelling. We model what's the impact of reducing roads to one lane and all that sort of stuff, and we've got a team doing some great work in that, and so we can predict what's going to happen. And we do. We've got sequencing of key bits of kit like bridges, and we consider haulage routes, because we know that everything's got to keep working, and all that determines what we do, how we do it, and when we do it. Here you see the Transport for Christchurch website. You can get apps so that you can read it on your mobile phone. The key to me is, and the message I try and get to everybody is, if you're going to travel through the central city, look at this sort of stuff beforehand, plan your route, or go around it if you're travelling through. If you want to come in and visit the central city, plan your route, know where to go, think about parking, and then everyone will be fine. The reason you guys are in this room today is we really wanted to communicate with you, just so you get a feel for what we're doing, know how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And, we spend a lot of time communicating with businesses on a street-by-street basis, and we've got Alistair and his crew and Warwick who are doing it on a higher level, and council as well. So all we're saying is be aware of the different levels of contact, and if it's anything to do with operational stuff, talk to the SCIRT teams or the delivery teams, and they will work with you to come up with the best solution we possibly can, whilst still keeping the traffic flowing and all the things that we need to do. So some of the things we're doing in regard to parking, for example, we're looking with council and CCDU about what alternate parking areas there are for patronage for shopping or business for our construction workers. We're looking at parking them out of the central city and busing them in. We're doing all sorts of stuff to minimise the impact on your businesses. And where we can, we will keep the construction footprint as small as possible. So the sort of communication stuff that we do is this sort of thing: the face-to-faces, the project overview documentation, all sorts of e-newsletters and signs and the like. There's a lot of comms going out there, and hopefully you would have seen a lot of the comms that's around. We've got a program at the moment which is the Go the Extra Mile campaign, and really what we're trying to do is to assist business, to encourage the community to keep coming into the central city for business. So it's about around the whole perimeter of the 4 avenues. We're going to have signs like that bigger one there, but that's a half-scale sign, and it's just to tell people that yes, it is a rebuild area, but everyone is still open for business. So you'll see those signs popping up around the perimeter of the 4 avenues and all the roads coming in and out, and it's about keeping the awareness up of the public at all the events we go to, all sorts of things. We're also working with businesses, providing them with business packs, which has got some tools that they can use ahead of their business being impacted to inform their customers and just, so people can be aware of what's going on. So here's some of the signage and things that you'll see around. We're also doing a lot of advertising, whether it's newspapers or flyers or all sorts of stuff, just to remind people that Central City is open for business during the rebuild. Okay, so you guys can help. We can all help. We can all do our bit to make sure that people realise it's an ongoing proposition. We join in with any events we possibly can. There was an Open Streets event that Council had going recently, so we'll be at that. We go to all the shows and whatever, and you'll start seeing these T-shirts popping around. Anne-Marie's got one on somewhere. So you'll start seeing these things popping around on the city, and we're just hoping that it becomes a bit of by stealth, people will start wearing these T-shirts and just remind the community that it's all business going in the city still. So in summary, the SCIRT work in the Central City will be challenging for us, for you, for the community who want to drive through. That's a reality of the rebuild. That the inconvenience is temporary, and we will try and minimise it as much as we can. But this whole collaboration thing, that is the reality. We will only get through this and do it well if we all work together. So the biggest thing I can say is, for goodness sake, talk to us, talk to CCDU. We will all redirect you to the appropriate people, but let's all keep working together. And when we do that, we will be able to create resilient infrastructure that gives people security and confidence in the future Christchurch, and we'll be able to do it with as minimum impact as we possibly can. Okay, so thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate your time. We know you've got businesses to run and all that sort of stuff. You know now who to contact and when. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
I'm Leanne Watson from the Canterbury Employers Chamber of Commerce, and I just want to thank the team this morning for coming along and providing that update and that information, because we've certainly been advocating for as much information out there in the community as possible to provide some certainty and some timeframes and things. So that's great to see such strong collaboration, coordination, communication, and also such an innovative model. I was fortunate enough last week to actually go out to SCIRT and talk to, I think, about 250 of their team. And what you may not be aware of is that SCIRT were recently awarded 2 awards at the Champion Canterbury Business Awards a couple of weeks ago, one for the Champion Canterbury Infrastructure category, and also the Press Supreme Award, which is a fantastic achievement given the work they're doing and for such a young organisation. And I also believe they were awarded an international award for engineering, the Brunel Award, I think it was, which has never been awarded outside of Europe. UK? Northern Hemisphere. So well done. Certainly demonstrates the great work that they're doing. So what we will try and do is get you some of those key contacts out and follow up to your attendance today, and maybe the wee map that showed the baby ship brown. Can't quite believe you said that. I sort of lost focus after that, so I know he was trying to come up with a different way of explaining it, but clearly he couldn't come up with one. So we'll make sure we get that out with some key points of contact for the various contractors involved in those areas as well. But strongly encourage you to make use of the contacts that you will receive after today, to connect in with Alistair at CCDU and his team and the SCIRT ops team, and to provide the information that Duncan's talked about, because without that, they can't do their job as well. So, look, thank you very much. I know it's a difficult time of the of any part of the day to get you along, so we really appreciate you coming along and taking the time out of your busy day. Thank you very much, and we'll let you go early. Thank you.
Yeah.